The morning sun barely peeked through the city's concrete jungle. As Elena and Marcus hustled down the bustling sidewalk, their footsteps syncing with the rhythm of honking cars and distant sirens, they were racing against the clock to reach their office, a sleek high-rise where their new manager, Mr. Daniel Harper, had scheduled an urgent 8 a.m. meeting. The stakes were high. Harper was set to appoint his assistant manager, a role that came with a life-changing opportunity, salary bonus, and a chance to climb the corporate ladder. Elena's heart pounded, not just from the brisk pace, but from the gnawing doubt that she, a diligent but unassuming account coordinator, stood little chance against flashier colleagues like Marcus, who oozed confidence and charm. She adjusted her blazer, smoothing out wrinkles, determined not to let tardiness tarnish her image. Marcus, meanwhile, was already strategizing, his polished loafers clicking purposefully as he muttered about seizing opportunities. The city pulsed around them, vendors shouting, commuters weaving, the air thick with exhaust and ambition. Then, at a busy intersection, they spotted an elderly woman, her silver hair glinting under the morning light, standing helplessly beside a stalled sedan. Her frail hands waved for assistance, her eyes pleading. "Please, I need help," she called, voice trembling. Elena's instinct was to stop, but Marcus tugged her arm. "We can't afford to be late, Elena. Harper's watching us. This is our shot." His words stung, but the old woman's distress tugged harder at Elena's conscience. Ignoring Marcus's protests, she approached the stranger whose car hood was propped open like a wounded bird. "Let's see what's wrong," Elena said softly, her hands already reaching for the engine. Marcus scoffed, checking his watch before storming off, muttering about her poor priorities. Elena's heart sank, but she stayed, driven by a quiet resolve she couldn't abandon someone in need. Not when her own grandmother's face flashed in her mind, alone and vulnerable years ago. The old woman introduced herself as Margaret, her voice warm but edged with panic. She explained she was on her way to surprise her son with his favorite homemade meal for a special occasion. Elena's quick inspection revealed the issue. The car was out of gas. Without hesitation, she grabbed an empty gas can from Margaret's trunk and sprinted 2 miles to the nearest station. Her lungs burning as she dodged pedestrians and traffic, sweat beaded on her forehead, her heels blistering. But the thought of Margaret stranded kept her moving. She returned, breathless, and filled the tank. The sharp scent of gasoline mixing with her determination was admirable. Margaret's gratitude was immediate, her eyes brimming with tears as she clasped Elena's hands. "You're an angel," she whispered, offering a small, heartfelt smile. Elena, now painfully late, rushed toward the office, her mind racing with dread. Would Harper see her absence as negligence? The city blurred past, each step heavier with the weight of her choice. Yet, she felt a quiet pride in her heart, a flicker of hope that doing the right thing might still matter. Elena burst through the office doors, her breath ragged, her blouse slightly untucked from her mad dash. The meeting was already underway, and the conference room's glass walls revealed a dozen colleagues, seated around a polished table, Harper at the head, his sharp suit and sharper gaze commanding the room. Marcus, seated near him, shot her a smug glance as she slipped in, her cheeks flushing under the weight of curious stares. Whispers rippled. Marcus had clearly spun a tale about her absence. "Elena, so kind of you to join us," Harper said, his tone neutral but laced with an edge that made her stomach twist. She mumbled an apology, sinking into a chair, her mind replaying Marcus's earlier dismissal of Margaret. Had he bad-mouthed her to secure the promotion? Her heart sank further as Harper began discussing the assistant manager role, emphasizing leadership and vision qualities she feared her tardiness had just undermined. The room felt suffocating, the hum of the air conditioner amplifying her anxiety. She glanced at Marcus, his polished smile practically screaming victory, and her confidence wavered. Had her choice to help Margaret cost her everything? Just then, the conference room door swung open, and Margaret stepped in, her presence startling everyone. She carried a woven basket, the faint aroma of rosemary and roasted chicken wafting from it. "Daniel, my boy," she exclaimed, her voice warm but firm. Harper's stern facade cracked into a boyish grin. "Mama, what are you doing here?" The room froze, colleagues exchanging stunned glances. Margaret explained she'd come to deliver Daniel's favorite meal, her famous herb-crusted roast for his big day as the new manager. Then her tone shifted, her eyes narrowing as she recounted her morning. She described her car trouble, Marcus's curt refusal to help, and Elena's selfless act, running miles to ensure a stranger wasn't stranded. Elena's heart thudded. She hadn't expected this. Marcus's face drained of color, his earlier smugness replaced by a tight-lipped grimace. Margaret's voice softened as she praised Elena's kindness, her words painting a vivid picture of a young woman who chose compassion over ambition. The room was silent, the weight of her story settling over everyone. Harper's gaze locked onto Elena, his expression unreadable at first, then softening with something like admiration. He stood, clearing his throat, and announced that the assistant manager role required not just skill but character, someone who embodied the company's values. "Elena," he said, his voice steady, "you've shown what true leadership looks like. The role is yours." A gasp rippled through the room, and Elena's eyes welled up, a mix of relief and disbelief flooding her. Margaret squeezed her hand, whispering, "You deserve this." For a moment, the corporate world's cold edges melted, and Elena felt seen, not just for her work, but for her heart. The announcement hung in the air like a thunderclap, the room's energy shifting as colleagues processed Harper's decision. Elena's chest tightened with a cocktail of joy and vindication, her earlier doubts dissolving under the weight of her new reality. Marcus's jaw clenched, his carefully crafted image crumbling as whispers of his rudeness to Margaret spread among the team. Harper continued, his voice now carrying a warmth that contrasted his earlier formality. He shared a brief story of his own, how his mother's lessons on kindness had shaped him, how he wanted a team led by those who prioritized people over profit. Elena's act, he said, wasn't just a good deed. It was a testament to the integrity he sought in his inner circle. As he handed her the assistant manager's contract, the room erupted in applause, though Marcus's hands remained still, his eyes fixed on the table. Elena's mind swirled with memories of late nights perfecting reports, of her grandmother's stories about doing right no matter the cost, of the morning's chaotic sprint to help a stranger. She glanced at Margaret, whose proud smile mirrored the one her grandmother used to give her, and a tear slipped down her cheek. The salary bonus was life-changing, yes, but the real reward was the validation of her values, the proof that kindness could carve a path where ambition alone faltered. As the meeting adjourned, colleagues swarmed her with congratulations, their earlier skepticism replaced by genuine respect. Marcus slunk out, his silence louder than any excuse he could muster. Margaret lingered, pressing a small container of her roast into Elena's hands. "For your own big day," she said, her eyes twinkling. Elena walked to her new office, the weight of the morning lifting with each step. The city outside hummed with its usual chaos, but inside, she felt a quiet triumph. She'd taken a risk, trusted her heart, and found that sometimes the universe rewards those who stop to help a stranger on the road. As she sat at her desk, the skyline stretching before her, Elena knew this was more than a promotion. It was a promise that her choices, however small, could ripple into something extraordinary.